in Western Europe, engineering is not very diverse. In fact, the more honest expression of that statement is engineering is not very, actually, it's not diverse at all. One of the things that we keep on talking about in the UK is the numbers of female engineers in the country. And that number is very low. Out of 100%, there's only 12% of females that make up that population. And it's beyond comprehension in so many ways, because engineering is about solving world problems. And our world is pretty much a 50-50 split. So as engineers, it doesn't make sense that we're approaching issues for a 50-50 split with such imbalance. And if you're anything like me, an engineer who's worked in the design consultancy world and the construction world, you go to events like this, and you're like pretty much tippy-toe, like looking up for other female engineers. You're like, where are they? And you find them and you want to give them a hug because there's not many of you around. And that needs to change. We need to get to a point where we are making our industry a lot more attractive. We're making it attractive to people who will come in, contribute to it, and actually take us one step further to solving the problems that we actually need to be solving problems. It's science, it's engineering. Get the balance right, and you have a bigger chance at actually coming up with solutions that are lasting. My story is a big, massive example of how diversity can bring about pretty amazing things. About 12 years ago, a man called David George took a chance on me. You know, 2 years into my career, he called me into a room, quite emotional actually, and said, you know what, 2 years ago, I sat in a room and argued my case for wanting to call you for an interview. You didn't fit the mold at all. And I thought, okay, thank you very much. Yes, that's just what I need to hear now. You didn't fit the mold. You didn't look the part. A girl, even though I'd been to a great engineering university from an African background as well, I wasn't that typical engineer in so many ways. But he saw something in my CV, and that was creativity. He was aligning himself to creativity. He was aligning himself to an ability to solve problems. He was aligning himself to the fact that he saw determination in my story. And that was pretty much the best decision that he could have made for me and for himself and for his team. 12 years after, you know, I still have conversations with him. He was my first boss and my mentor. And we have conversations and we look back at the last 12 years, and none of us could have envisioned how far, you know, we would have come together as well in the last 12 years. I mean, over the last 12 years, I've been named the best female engineer, young female engineer in the United Kingdom. I've been named one of the top 35 women in the United Kingdom. I've had opportunities to work on projects in, thank you. Thank you very much. I've had opportunities to work on projects in Africa, in the UK, in the Middle East, and in the Far East as well. And this comes from, you know, a few moments of somebody aligning themselves to creativity. And that's what engineering needs to be about. It needs to be about creating an environment where that 50-50 split, that balance can be explored, where people from different places, from different backgrounds, with different ambitions as well, can come and be themselves. One of the things I've thought about over and over again is, how did we get ourselves to this point? Why is there such imbalance? It doesn't make sense. You see other industries, and there isn't as much imbalance. Fair enough, the history of engineering in many countries has gotten us to where we are. You know, the people who first of all thought of great ideas were men, and they are our foundation. But when I think of where we need to go to be able to make the changes that we need to make, it needs to be a completely different formula. It needs to be a formula where we can get both parties, we can get the color and the vibrancy of people's backgrounds and their orientations and where they come from and their different experiences to be able to chart these ideas. That's a big, massive aspect to it. Now, the thing as well is, I absolutely loved Ruth's message. Young people are looking, they're watching. They're not going to come into an industry that's not attractive, that doesn't have faces that look like them. They want to be part of something that's exciting. They talk about the tech world. I mean, for example, if we go on Google, and I don't know what it's like in Sweden, but when I put engineer in my Google search box from the UK, and I go to images, it's not a very, very diverse result. I'm sure you can imagine what the images are like. Not my skin color, not women. Actually, women appear after it's tried to convince you that you're looking for an attractive female engineer. So it tells you attractive female engineer, and then it gives you something. And that needs to change. We are dealing with a backlog of perceptions that are hindering our progress, that are hindering the progress that we need to make. Now, why do we do this? It's because there's a need, there's a dire need for solutions in our world. We've heard so many presentations today, you know, and there are challenges. But then getting people's perspectives, getting people's views on things, people's different experiences will help us accelerate the change that we need to experience. The other reason is, for a lot of people in here, it's about legacy. In so many ways, I consider myself David George's legacy. He's retired now, but I am the continuation of his work. And that needs to happen. Now, one of the issues that we have with social media, or I have because I'm on so many social media platforms, is that I get real-time reports of what people are experiencing. So if somebody I don't know, but I follow on Twitter, has had a bad day, I know about it, you know? And some of those, you know, tweets and Instagram posts are about people not having great experiences because their professors don't think they're qualified for a certain grant system or grant program scheme, or, you know, they're desperate to get on a program, but then there's so much pushback. In my view, we can't afford to miss out on potentially creating great legacies. People who you embrace into your systems, people who you give opportunities to, are the continuation of your programs, of you. And they won't just continue at that rate, they will fly. They will do exceptionally well. And that I have proof of, because David George tells me I'm one of the better decisions he made in the later stage of his career. And I'm so grateful for that, and I don't take that lightly at all. I am going to please ask, you know, and really, really challenge everybody around here and in this room to create that legacy for balance. Create that legacy for balance, that legacy that ensures that there's continuity of engineering excellence, continuity of engineering creativity as well, because our world needs solutions. 50 years from now, we need to be solving those development goals. 50 years from now, we need to ensure that healthcare is not a conversation we're still having, you know? Big healthcare issues, yes, they're ongoing, but the big, massive healthcare issues have had every single effort put into them, and everything that needs to be done has been done to ensure the continuity of mankind. I'm very, very grateful for your time, and I hope that as we leave here in the next, over the next couple of days, one thing we take with us as an action is to ensure that we're bringing more balance to our teams, to our environments, to our schools of engineering, and to our institutions of engineering. Thank you very much.